Hello and welcome to the World History Addicts podcast. I'm your host, Evan, and today we'll be covering This is your president, Donald J. Trump. The previous host of this podcast has been fired, and I'm going to be taking over from here. This is the World History Addicts podcast. It's so good, it's so great, it's terrific, and today we're going to be talking about the best country ever, that being the United States of America, and how it took over the world. I'll explain why this country used to be great, and how I'm going to make America great again. Every bad review, every single one on this podcast, was paid for by Sleepy Joe in China. If you don't like it, you are fake news, and you're fired. So, Mr. President, how did the American Empire begin? That's a great question, and I have the best answer for that question. America started back in 1776. There were settlers and there were colonists before that, but they didn't think of themselves as Americans. They thought of themselves as English, so they're losers, and they don't count. After we beat the British the way I beat Crooked Hillary back in 2016, the 13 colonies started expanding west until it hit Mexico. So we went to war against Mexico, and our army was so good, it was so great, it was so tremendous. It won the war, and then we made the best deal in the history of deals and took California and the rest of the Southwest. Great deal, I couldn't have made a better deal. Then America ran out of space to expand over land, so it expanded over the oceans instead. We took over Hawaii, best deal in the history of real estate deals, and then a few years later, we took some islands from Spain, like Puerto Rico and the Philippines. But at this time, America wasn't the greatest country. That was Britain. The British still controlled the largest empire in the history of empires, and they had the biggest and the strongest navy. It was so powerful, it was so advanced, just incredible. No one messed with the Royal Navy. They also ran the best banks, and they made the most important investment deals. Great deals. I would have made those deals if I was around back then. But then the British made a very bad deal, and they got into World War I. They called it the Great War because everyone involved thought that they could make their country great again by fighting in it. But even though they won, it just put them in debt. Lots of money out, very bad deal, worst deal in the history of deals. But it was a very good deal for America because the British now owed America a very large amount of money. Then after that, in the 1930s, there was a huge depression. The economy was doing bad. And a man named Hitler wanted to make Germany great again. So he started World War II, and he tried to get a better real estate deal in Eastern Europe. But it didn't pan out for him, and the Russians made Germany their real estate instead. It was a great deal for the Soviet Union, but they weren't the only ones making deals after the war. America made a deal with the Allies at Bretton Woods to make American money the best money, the global standard. It was awesome. The USA ran the world's economy, just terrific. And it's also when something even more important happened. I was born in 1946. Best birthday in the history of birthdays. No one else's birthday was as great as mine. America also agreed to protect everyone else from the Soviet Union because they were very weak after the war, so they turned into losers, and that's how America's empire became the best empire and how it took over the world. Well, Mr. Trump, that sounds like quite a story. What did America do with this new empire after they had succeeded in conquering half the world or more? That's another great question. We used our new empire to make sure everyone was free, and by free, I mean they were free to give us money and whatever we asked for on our terms. Back then, the Russians weren't very nice. They weren't helping me win the election. They didn't like what we were doing, and they wanted people to be free to kick American companies out of their country, and that wasn't okay. So we got into lots of wars, and we bombed lots and lots of countries in order to make them free, to make money for us. We did that in Vietnam and a few other countries like Cambodia and Laos. In some countries, we just paid some of our friends there to do the bombings for us and to make their own country free by bombing themselves. We did that in Chile. Some say we supported terrorists, and a few have even said that we supported fascists, but I say they were very fine people on both sides. We kept doing this until the Soviet Union ran out of money, and their own government started thinking like us, so they sold out their own country, and they let us win the Cold War. That was a great deal. It was a tremendous deal. I was there in 1991, and it was a fantastic time. So America won the Cold War. They stopped the Soviet Union. But why is the American empire going downhill, Mr. Trump? That's an even better question, and one big reason is China. China was also a communist country like the Soviet Union, and today it still is on paper, even though they have many, many companies that are making lots of money that I wish I had, but that's not important right now. What's important is there's another great president of this country named Richard Nixon. He's almost as good as me. He went to China, and he made some deals, and he got them on our side against the Soviet Union, and they started making money for us and producing whatever we needed. That's why Made in China became so common. China was doing pretty well, so rich, they were doing so well, they realized they didn't need America, and lots of countries who were losers would rather side with them instead. And then there's the War on Terror. Some very, very bad people from the Middle East hijacked airplanes and drove them to some of the best buildings in New York City. It was a horrible day to be in real estate, just the worst. So America started bombing them, and bombing them, and bombing them some more, and we're still bombing them to this day. The War on Terror still isn't over. It just got toned down after Sleepy Joe made American troops leave Afghanistan. But the War on Terror was a very, very bad deal for America. It didn't get any new real estate, it cost tons of money, the terrorists kept fighting, and people stopped trusting the United States. Bad deal, worst deal. There's also a country that everyone's talking about today, and that country is Israel. I've been to Israel. It's a great country. Tremendous people. I don't even know where it is on the map. My campaign team just says to say good things about Israel to get better ratings. Well, Israel's like us. They like being free, and if someone's not free, they bomb them. Lots of people don't like Israel, but we do, and that makes people not like America even less, because America likes Israel. And then there's me, your president, Donald J. Trump, and I'm taking apart the U.S. empire because I think it's a great deal. Not for you, but for me. Vladimir Putin is one of my best friends. He's a great business partner. He helped me get elected. He's a tremendous guy. I made a deal where he gets to keep all the land he stole in Ukraine, even if American allies in Europe think that's a terrible deal. But I don't care, because I'm Donald Trump. America first. Okay then, Mr. Trump. What will happen in the future with this America first attitude? I'm curious as to where you think this will lead. We will make America great again, and by America, I mean me, and by great, I mean even more rich. I don't care if NATO allies don't like me. I don't care if the EU thinks I'm a strongman, authoritarian like Kim Jong-un. Who's a great guy, by the way. He's got a great country. In his country, they have strong borders. Illegal immigrants get deported. The winners at the top get everything, and the losers at the bottom get nothing. So I'd say it's a pretty good country, and I'd like to make America more like North Korea. So if the EU doesn't like it, they're a bunch of losers, and their deals are trash. My other best friend is Elon Musk, and I'm planning on making more and more Mar-a-Lago resorts, including some on Mars as soon as SpaceX gets enough funding. It'll be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. Better than any resort in the history of resorts. All right, Mr. Trump, this is quite an eye-opener, Mr. Trump. Do you have anything to add to all of this? Some say that I can't tell everyone, make America great again, but also destroy the American empire. Well, they're wrong. Empire is only good if it benefits the country. Americans are tired of fighting foreign wars and spending so much money on defending other countries. America first also means doing what's good for me more than anything else. So if I don't get something out of our alliance with the EU and NATO, I won't keep supporting it. It's not just America first, it's Donald Trump first. I'd also want to add, there's no such thing as a permanent friend in politics. There are no permanent allies. There are only common interests. And if that wasn't true, I wouldn't be willing to be friends with Vladimir Putin. I wouldn't be willing to go up to U.S. allies in NATO and tell them that they're fake news, and we don't care about them anymore. Democracy is a great system as long as it works, but eventually it stops working because at least find loopholes to get more and more power until one day you wake up and you don't even have a democracy anymore. Sometimes democracy is shut down because they're conquered by someone else on the outside, like what's happening with Ukraine, but other times they die because someone on the inside turns it all upside down, which is what I'm doing. Vote for me in 2028, or you're getting deported. Thank you all for listening to the best podcast in the history of podcasts. It's been a tremendous time. Follow us at World History Addicts Podcast on Instagram for more terrific episodes and all new releases. Subscribe now and make podcasting great again.